Let's play a game. Choose your hidden archetype. Before we dive into strategy, pick the word that first grabs you. Sword, shield, or crown. Don't overthink, just go with your gut. Sword. You default to bold action, striking obstacles head-on. Shield. You defend, seeking stability and protection. Crown. You gravitate toward control and overarching strategy. Notice how this snap judgment exposed your hidden bias. Subconscious drivers rule your choices far more than logic. If you can't see your own puppet strings, you'll never command anyone else's. You have been deceived ever since you learned to think. You were taught that influence is about bold arguments, flashy gestures, and charming smiles, as if surface actions could harness the hidden engines of the mind. But the truth is brutal. Real command lives beneath words, in the realm of the subconscious, where impulses, associations, and silent suggestions steer every decision. Most people stumble through life like marionettes, slavishly obeying invisible forces. They believe they act freely, yet their choices are pre-programmed by unseen cues. A tone of voice, a fleeting image, a buried memory. Without mastery of these subterranean levers, you remain enslaved by external wills, forever at the mercy of stronger influences. Niccolo Machiavelli, that cold-minded strategist, knew power's anatomy. He taught that to govern men, you must first know their hidden springs of action. Translate that lesson inward. To command your world, you must speak the language your own mind obeys, without protest. For Machiavelli, persuasion was precision engineering. Words were chisels, timing was mortar. In The Prince, he insisted, a wise ruler should choose the way of strategy rather than the way of force. Strategy over violence, suggestion over compulsion. Subconscious commands sneak past willpower, planting ideas that blossom into inevitable action. These methods bypass rational resistance and embed directives where the conscious mind cannot intercept. Today you will discover 3 core tactics to seize control of your own thoughts and behaviors. Pattern provocation is the lightning strike that shatters the fortress of habit. Power wilts wherever predictability blooms, for routine is the citadel of comfort, and comfort is the opiate that softens ruler and subject alike. Machiavelli would sneer at any commander lulled into complacent drill. The same contempt must be shown toward every mental ritual that keeps thought marching in dull formation. A sudden break, a jarring insult, a silence sliced into chatter, an audacious question sends shockwaves through the captive mind. In that instant, reason halts. The watchman who guards the gates of judgment fumbles his spear. The critical faculty is stunned, and suggestion slips through the breach with the stealth of assassins at midnight. It is force without force, cruelty without blade, control secured in a heartbeat of confusion. The anatomy of that watchman bears study, for he is neither hero nor villain, merely filter. His task is to reject alien notions and keep belief pure of contradiction. Yet he grows lazy when the world repeats its gentle rhythms. Pattern provocation awakens him not with a trumpet, but with a dagger pressed to his throat. When the shock consumes his attention, the first commanding voice to whisper in his ear becomes law. In that vacuum, you enter the throne room of the unconscious, crown yourself, and issue decrees no parliament will overturn. History offers rich evidence of this principle. In Renaissance Florence, a councillor once drowned the chamber in flattery until Niccolo himself interrupted. Is loyalty measured in words or blood? The pause froze the room. The question's violence knocked courtiers into self-doubt, and through the gap slid a policy none would later dare contest. Centuries later, in revolutionary France, a tribunal greeted a trembling baker not with accusation, but with a cheery salute to the Republic. Terror, expected, turned to relief. Relief to confusion, confusion to unguarded speech. Names of hoarders poured forth, and bread lines lengthened at the guillotine's pace. In the modern boardroom, a single unexpected query, when did you first sense the rot, can pierce months of excuses, bend shareholders' loyalties, and shift fortunes by shock alone. Neuroscience explains what Machiavelli knew by instinct. When pattern breaks, the amygdala cries alarm, adrenaline surges, and the orienting response yanks every volt of attention toward the novelty. For several seconds, the mind is a blank screen, hungry for instruction. Deliver it. A clear directive, sharp as a blade, occupies the void. Act, sign, comply, advance. Later, the conscious mind will weave stories to justify obedience. Let it, you have already seized the citadel. To wield pattern provocation effectively, craft disruptions with precision. A theatrical clap during hushed negotiation. A proverb twisted beyond recognition. A handshake offered, then withdrawn for a shoulder pat, pivot. A question that rips a subordinate from yesterday's lunch into today's lethal deadline. Praise that turns to accusation mid-sentence. Each is an arrow of rupture if released at the right beat. Random noise is worthless. Strategy demands the interruption serve a single aim. Open the gate, slip the command, seal it before thought recovers. Do not reserve this weapon for others alone. The first battleground is your own hesitation. Strike yourself when sloth appears. Shout a battle cry in an empty room. Drop books onto your desk so the thunder kills daydreams. Imagine rivals celebrating your delay until rage cuts procrastination down. With practice, anticipation of the jolt becomes the jolt. Action follows instinctively, thought trailing like a defeated standard-bearer. In delivering shocks, warmth blunts the edge. Embrace icy detachment. You are surgeon, not brawler. Witness every flinch, record every tremor, refine technique. Malice fogs the lens. Cruelty is permissible only as instrument. The prey is not a person's dignity, but the invisible habit chaining him, and by extension, chaining your dominion. Break habit cleanly. Leave no jagged bone of humiliation to fester into rebellion. The aftermath of rupture must be scripted. Confusion alone is theatrical. Confusion followed by concise command is engineering. State the directive plainly, in present tense without alternatives. Sign the decree. Deploy the funds. Advance. The stunned mind clutches the first plank of certainty it sees. Hand it the plank you choose. As clarity returns, logic retrofits itself around obedience, like ivy around new stone. Context refines technique. In a royal court, provocations wear silk. Praise a rival's cloak, then softly ask if guilt hangs as well upon his shoulders. Laughter ripples, the rival reddens, and you slide your new tax edict through the breach. In a council of financiers, data grids flicker until you replace them with a childhood photo of the firm's ragged founder. Silence swallows skepticism, and urgency compels decisive investment. On a battlefield, drums hammer into abrupt hush. Soldiers feel the void's abyss, and your roar. Advance, or the silence becomes your grave, fills it with fervor. As organizations scale, teach lieutenants to fire pattern provocations like archers. Rotate devil's advocates, shuffle seating, spring audits, broadcast anonymous questions. A culture that expects the unexpected cannot be astonished by foreign intrigue, yet preserve a spine of purpose beneath the turbulence. Law anchors the Roman legions, even when emperors fall. Your law is mission. Every shock must advance strategy, never vanity. Beware pitfalls. Habituation dulls surprise, vary modalities. Frequent humiliation breeds revolt, temper shock with reward. Mistimed ruptures ignite panic in crisis. Strike during plateaus. If manipulation becomes transparent, walls rebuild thicker. Conceal intent behind spontaneity. Defend yourself in turn. Practice centering breaths and sensory focus to recover before rival suggestions plant roots. Train daily. Enter lively rooms and hold silence until conversation collapses, then command. Twist cliches in mid-air and watch listeners stutter before swallowing your agenda. At every idle scroll of the finger, clap sharply, voice 3 goals, act on 1. Host debates where bells cut speakers off and random peers must seize argument mid-flight. Minds toughen under such gauntlets. Hesitation withers. Witness the merchant Giuliano, minor Florentine, who shattered a guild banquet by smashing his goblet and asking whose silk would mop the blood when enemies cut throats. His charter won signatures before the wine dried, for shock captured Will's rank could not. Note also how cascades, mild dislocation, moderate inversion, severe jolt, can layer compliance. The meeting moved at the last minute, opened with self-concession, closed with an unsettling image beside an irrevocable order. Resistance is pounded out at each stroke. Morality. Stagnation is decay. Decay ends kingdoms. A surgeon wounds flesh to save it. A prince wounds certainty to revive purpose. Yet strike inward twice for each outer blow. A ruler disciplined in self-shock proves legitimacy when startling his realm. Thus you grip the storm. One lifted brow, one shattered glass, one venom-dipped query, and you still the tide of thought, redraw its banks and sculpt obedience. Let habit tremble, comfort scurry, and power gather. It was not brute force that conquered, but silent thunder, the art of pattern provocation, striking where no guard stood watch. Turn inward, prince, and feel the quivering rabble of impressions, doubts, memories, and half-frozen desires that mill about your inner courtyard. They are unruly, not because they wish to rebel, but because you have never forged their chains. Today you will raise a single iron post in that courtyard and lock every passion and thought to it by invisible fetters. This post is neuro-anchoring, the conscious manufacture of triggers so potent that will, emotion and action spring to heal the instant you tug the chain. No whip, no rhetoric, no debate. Only a signal and obedience as automatic as the heartbeat. Begin by recalling Pavlov's mutts, drooling rivers at the chime of a dinner bell. The lesson most men draw is shallow. Dogs are simple. The true lesson is darker. Nervous systems, human or canine, cannot help but fuse stimulus with state when repetition and intensity conspire. The bell did not tell the dog to salivate, it became hunger itself. Likewise, you will become your own certainty, your own fire, your own unshakable calm, a prince's thumb resting on a talisman, the brush of silk cuff against wrist, the glance at a crimson banner. Any of these may serve. Choose one small, unmistakable cue that you alone control, so its ring cannot be muffled by accident or by traitor. Now, charge the anchor, wait until a moment of uncontested triumph, ink drying on a treaty, lungs blazing after a victorious march, teeth stained with the wine of conquest. At the climax, perform the chosen gesture and repeat a monosyllable that roars of dominion. Mine. Let every nerve drink the cocktail of neurotransmitters, dopamine glitter, norepinephrine flame, serotonin balm. Do not merely notice the feeling. Amplify it. Stand taller. Widen the chest. Breathe as if you could inhale the horizon itself. The gesture and the word weld to the surge. Repeat this forging across 5, 10, 50 victories, until gesture and state fuse like gold and mercury into a single alchemical metal. But triumphs come sporadically. Waiting wastes time. Manufacture victories in the furnace of imagination. Close your eyes and relive decisive scenes. Enemies kneeling, lovers wanting, cities illuminated with your standard. The nervous system, blind to chronology, accepts the fiction as present reality. Finally, refine your personal sigil until it feels inevitable. It should appear in childhood tales you commission bards to spread, in border outposts carved by masons, in secret letters signed only with ink-pressed wax. If you succeed, long after rebels topple your statues, the symbol itself will whisper your version of history. Ideas embedded in art outlast granite. In the end, pattern provocation storms the gates, neuro-anchoring drills the troops, but symbolic reframing redraws the map so that victory seems the only geography ever possible. You conquer minds not by changing what they see, but by changing what seeing means. And when meaning bows, behavior falls to its knees. Take up this third scepter with steady hand. Wield it without apology. The gods of language will not judge you. They have always favored the storyteller who dares to rename reality, and, by renaming, to rule.